Journey with us through time as we explore the Irish Army's rich history. We'll delve into pivotal moments, from the War of Independence to modern challenges. Discover the threads binding this institution to the nation it serves, illuminating its contribution to Ireland's past, present, and future. Uncover the fascinating layers of the Irish Army's heritage.
Now, let me explain the Irish Army's history to you with hidden details and shocking facts.
In the early dawn of Easter Monday, 1916, the streets of Dublin echoed with the sounds of rebellion. This was the start of the Easter Rising, a pivotal event in the history of the Irish Republican Army. As the first light of dawn broke, a group of Irish nationalists, armed with little more than dreams of independence and a fierce determination, launched an audacious attack on the British authorities. They seized key locations across Dublin and declared an Irish Republic, free from British rule. It was a daring move, yet it was also a desperate one. Ireland had been under British control for centuries, and the nationalists knew that their chances of success were slim. But they were willing to risk everything for the chance of freedom. The Easter Rising was a bold and dramatic event, but it was also a tragic one. The British response was swift and brutal. They crushed the rebellion within a week, executing many of the leaders and imprisoning thousands of people. The harshness of the British response shocked many Irish people and fueled a rising tide of nationalism. The Easter Rising was not just a military event, it was also a cultural and political one. It was a moment when the Irish people asserted their right to self-determination, to control their own destiny. The Rising was a rallying cry for those who believed in an independent Ireland, and it inspired a new generation of nationalists. The Easter Rising also played a crucial role in the formation of the original Irish Republican Army. The IRA was born out of the ashes of the Rising, formed by those who were determined to continue the fight for independence. The Rising was the spark that ignited the flame of rebellion, a flame that would burn brightly in the hearts of the IRA for decades to come. The Easter Rising was a defining moment in Irish history. It was a moment of courage and defiance, a moment of hope and despair. It was a moment when the Irish people stood up against the might of the British Empire and said, "No more." It was the moment when the dream of an independent Ireland began to take shape. The Easter Rising, though initially unsuccessful, lit the spark of rebellion that would eventually give birth to the Irish Republican Army. Post the Easter Rising, Ireland was a hotbed of revolutionary activity. This period would come to be known as the Irish War of Independence. The War of Independence, spanning from 1919 to 1921, marked a pivotal point in Irish history. No longer would the Irish Republican Army, or the IRA as we know it, remain a fringe group of rebels. Instead, they emerged as a formidable force, ready and willing to challenge the might of the British Empire. The IRA's strategy during this period was one of guerrilla warfare. Rather than engaging in full-scale battles with the more powerful British forces, they relied on ambushes, raids, and hit-and-run tactics. This approach not only kept the British on their toes, but also negated their numerical superiority. IRA's guerrilla tactics were highly effective. They were responsible for a series of attacks known as the Bloody Sunday, when they targeted British intelligence officers in Dublin. These attacks, coupled with the ongoing economic drain of maintaining control over Ireland, began to wear down the British resolve. The IRA also had a knack for propaganda, using it to rally support from the Irish population and from sympathizers overseas. They painted a picture of a David versus Goliath struggle, with the Irish underdog fighting against the oppressive British Empire. This narrative was instrumental in swaying public opinion, both domestically and internationally, in favor of Irish independence. All these factors culminated in the British government deciding to negotiate with the IRA. The result was the Anglo-Irish Treaty of 1921, which granted Ireland the status of a dominion within the British Empire. A far cry from full independence, but a significant step nonetheless. In this period, the IRA transformed from a group of rebels into an organized, disciplined force. They were now a force to be reckoned with, capable of standing up to one of the world's most powerful empires. The War of Independence saw the IRA rise from a ragtag group of rebels to a force capable of standing up to the British Empire. The signing of the Anglo-Irish Treaty in 1921 brought peace, but at a cost. The cost was the partition of Ireland, a decision that split not just the country, but also the Irish Republican Army, known as the IRA. The ink had barely dried on the treaty when tensions began to mount. The agreement dictated that 6 counties in the north of Ireland would remain under British rule, while the remaining 26 counties would form the Irish Free State. This partition was a bitter pill to swallow for many, especially within the ranks of the IRA. The division of Ireland led to an internal rift within the IRA. On one side, there were those who accepted the treaty as a necessary compromise towards a sovereign Ireland. On the other side, there were hardline Republicans who viewed the treaty as a betrayal of the Irish independence cause. This discord gave birth to a civil war, a brutal and bloody conflict that lasted from 1922 to 1923. Brother fought against brother, old comrades became enemies, and the dream of a united Ireland seemed to be slipping further away. Out of this turmoil, the IRA split into 2 factions. The faction that accepted the treaty became what is known today as the official IRA. The other faction, those who rejected the treaty, became the provisional IRA. The official IRA, often referred to as the Stickies, moved towards Marxist-Leninist ideology and largely abandoned armed struggle. The provisional IRA, or the Provos, continued their armed campaign against British rule in Northern Ireland, leading to a period known as the Troubles. The split in the IRA was not just about ideology or military strategy, it was a reflection of the deep divisions in Irish society at the time, divisions based on class, geography, and political beliefs. These divisions, ingrained in the fabric of Irish society, would continue to fuel conflict for decades to come. The split in the IRA was a reflection of the deep divisions in Irish society, divisions that would continue to fuel conflict for decades to come. In the late 1960s, a new wave of conflict swept over Northern Ireland. This period, known as the Troubles, saw the provisional IRA rise to prominence. As the turmoil escalated, the IRA, now split into the official and provisional factions, found itself back on the battlefield. But this time, the fight was not only against British rule, but also against the perceived discrimination of Catholics in Northern Ireland. The provisional IRA, becoming the more dominant faction, engaged in a campaign of violence that aimed to end British rule in Northern Ireland. This campaign was marked by bombings, assassinations, and armed attacks. The IRA's tactics were unyielding and brutal. They targeted not only the British Army and the Royal Ulster Constabulary, but also civilians, causing a significant number of casualties. One of the most notorious instances was the Bloody Sunday Massacre of January 1972, when British soldiers opened fire on a civil rights march in Derry, resulting in 14 deaths. The event, while not directly involving the IRA, triggered an upsurge of recruitment for the organization. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, the IRA further intensified its armed campaign. The bombings in mainland Britain, particularly the Birmingham pub bombings in 1974, which killed 21 people, and the Brighton hotel bombing in 1984, aimed at the British cabinet, brought the conflict to the forefront of British consciousness. Yet, the IRA's activities were not without controversy and opposition, even within the Republican community. The mounting civilian casualties and the lack of a clear political strategy led to dissatisfaction and questioning of the IRA's approach. The Troubles were a tumultuous and bloody chapter in the history of Ireland and the IRA. The Provisional IRA's campaign of violence was a desperate and devastating attempt to achieve their political aspirations, yet it only resulted in further division and suffering. The Troubles were a dark period in Irish history, with the IRA at the center of much of the violence. In 1998, after decades of conflict, the Good Friday Agreement was signed, marking a major turning point in the history of the IRA. This momentous event signified the culmination of years of negotiations and compromise, a beacon of hope and harmony emerging from the ashes of tumultuous strife. The IRA's decision to lay down their arms was not a decision taken lightly. It was a testament to their acceptance of the changing political landscape and the growing desire for peace among the Irish people. This decision was a radical departure from their previous stance, a shift from armed struggle to a peaceful and democratic process. It was a monumental step that showcased the IRA's adaptability and willingness to pave the way for a new era in Irish history. But the transition was not without its share of challenges. There were factions within the IRA that resisted the change, leading to splinter groups that continued the armed struggle. Despite these hurdles, the majority of the IRA adhered to the peace process, demonstrating their commitment to a peaceful resolution of the conflict. The Good Friday Agreement not only marked the end of the IRA's armed campaign but also ushered in a new era of power sharing and cooperation between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. It was the dawning of a new age, a chance for healing and reconciliation, an opportunity for Ireland to move forward from its tumultuous past. In the years following the Good Friday Agreement, the IRA has largely disappeared from the headlines. However, its legacy lives on in the political and social fabric of Ireland. The organization's transformation from an armed group to a political entity is a testament to the IRA's enduring influence on Irish history. While the IRA has largely faded from the headlines, its impact on Ireland and its history is undeniable. The Good Friday Agreement and beyond is a chapter of the IRA's history that showcases its evolution and adaptability, a narrative that is integral to understanding the complex tapestry of Ireland's past.